Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the stage our honored guest, Jennifer Bartolotta.
Good evening, everybody. Okay, I'll just do circles. Thank you for coming. Welcome to Discovery World. Tonight, I'm going to begin with a question. When is the last time you did something for the first time? Allow that to marinate a little bit, and I'll come back to that later. Doing something for the first time requires a certain amount of curiosity and the desire to discover. There have been discoveries with global impact, notable things we can all relate to. Fire, the fact that the world isn't flat, the automobile, the internet. There have also been discoveries that impact us locally. Take the fact that you're here tonight in this magnificent space, surrounded by the beauty and nature of each other. I'm just going to do that. And then there are discoveries that are more of a personal nature. Take for the fact that every member of the extended Bartolotta family, realizing that we soaked up far more than we could have ever imagined from our Joe, and discovering in this process that we can carry those very things forward with us, fueling our passion, our commitment, and our desire to continue working with you, planning with you, cooking for you, and serving you tonight. Let's spend some time unpacking the one thing that we all have in common, and that's being here at this very moment in this space. You'll note that I'm accompanied by three things, all metaphors for the discoverers who made tonight possible. I have my bottle of early times. Which represents Discovery World founder and funder, Michael Cudahy. Walt Disney is here for Roy Ryman. You see, Joe bought this because he likened Walt to Roy. And then finally, I've got Joe, not literally, but I've got Joe with me. A Superman lunchbox. In addition to an infinite amount of curiosity, they all possess a number of the same qualities. A certain twinkle in their eyes, a certain mischievousness accompanied by a compulsion to create, and a certain belief in their ability to realize extraordinary discoveries. I had the great pleasure of having been quasi-adopted by George Dalton. After returning from judging the Global EY Entrepreneur of the Year Awards in Monte Carlo one year, I asked him, "Hey, George, what did you learn this year?" To which my friend replied, "Well, Poopsie," he called me Poopsie, "Well, Poopsie, I learned that entrepreneurs never take risks." I expressed my surprise at that bold statement, and I asked George to explain. And he went on to note that entrepreneurs so very clearly see their vision and the things that would represent impossibilities to most of us are merely impediments to them. Michael Cudahy and Joe Bartolotta's relationship began in 2003, on the very day that the original design for this institution was rejected. Oblivious to this fact, my husband entered Michael's office and presented his vision for Bacchus in the Cudahy Tower. I knew I'd get that laugh. It would be a bit of an understatement to say that Michael didn't share Joe's vision for Bacchus in the Cudahy Tower. Not two men to be deterred, they both shook off their respective impediments, went back to the drawing board, and we all know how this story ends. We proudly opened Bacchus in 2004. Soon after, Michael floated the idea of a partnership to become the exclusive food service vendor for Discovery World. There were many impediments both organizations faced. Like when Joe asked Michael, "Where are we going to take our garbage?" And Michael said, "What garbage?" Fueled by our fearless discoverers, everybody showed up with an all-hands-on-deck compulsion, finding ways around, through, and over the impediments. We've been so very honored to have been your trusted partner, serving your guests since. A round of applause for Michael and Joe. In 2017, Joe and Joel Brennan had a meeting with Roy and Bobby Ryman, kind of about where I'm standing. Both Joel and Roy showed up sporting their mischievous little smiles and walked away from that meeting having created the possibility and paving the way for this spectacular pavilion that you're seated in today. A round of applause for Roy, Bobby, Joel, and Joe. If you're sitting here wondering how you might be more like any or all of them, let's unpack what holds us back. It's simply two things: our self-limiting choices and our self-limiting beliefs. Collectively, we have made and continue to make choices that have placed us in a world where we find ourselves overcommitted, over-distracted, overstimulated, and stressed out. In grasping to answer my very simple question, when's the last time you did something for the first time? This is a picture of Joe last August at the foot, and we were still 45 miles away from the mighty Denali. Note the pure joy on his face. Joe lived in a state of perpetual happiness. He did not know how to make self-limiting choices, nor suffer the inner discourse that holds so many of us back. He was never in a hurry. Ask anybody that knew him well. He didn't have to make time for those things and those people that were important to him. He always had the time. And he spent the vast majority of what most of us would judge as an inordinate amount of time simply doing nothing. And by nothing, I really mean nothing. He relished being in nature and looking out over water. Here's the thing. There's one resource that we were blessed with at birth. And when we wake each morning, we have a choice. That is the luxury of time. Another day to discover the wonder that is this time and space. Time is a finite luxury. No amount of anything, including money, can buy us more of it. Every single morning that you wake, blessed with another day to play in the sandbox that is your life, I beg you to hit the pause button and ask yourself if you're making choices that constitute the best use of your precious and fleeting resource. Again, I'll ask you, when's the last time you did something for the first time? Least you think you've exhausted all the possibilities or need help discovering I'm a phone call away. I'd like to end with St. Teresa's prayer. It's a prayer I adopted about 15 years ago. I repeat it out loud to myself every single morning. After Joe left for his bigger sandbox, it occurred to me that this is how he lives each and every day of his life. I hope you consider doing the same. The prayer goes like this. May today there be peace within. May I trust God that I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. May I not forget the infinite possibilities that are born of my faith. May I use the gifts that I've received and pass on all the love that's been given to me. May I be content knowing that I'm a child of God's, and let this presence settle into my bones and allow my soul the freedom to sing, dance, praise, and love. Please join me in raising a glass to our beloved discoverers, Michael, Joe, and Roy. May their examples ignite a fire in our bellies to leverage and deploy our most precious resource. Thank you.